Through seminars, research, community events, workshops and presentations, the Ocean exposes, promotes and educates about the value of art in business, fostering collaboration between creative fields and the business world. In this edition of Business Connect, we meet the founder of the Ocean as he gives his views on creativity and innovation. At the African Leadership University, emphasis is put on leadership skills. This university is specialized in creating opportunities for graduates to become team builders with innovative problem-solving skills.
The arts and business, does that match? Well, both require creativity and both need innovation to stand the test of time. But how to synergize both? How to get the arts at business places? This is what we're going to see with Nir Hindi. He's a public speaker who introduces the concept of arts at the business places. Let's meet him. Nir Hindi, you're the founder of the Artian, and you have created a concept, or you bring a concept where you want people to place arts in their businesses, in their enterprises. Now, when we talk about business, we think about serious things, money, planning, organizing, whereas arts is people who create, who take time to think. How can you match those two in the same place?
So first of all, it's a good comment. I think that before you had business, you had an entrepreneur that created something. Just like the artist. He created the product, he created the services, or she created the product or services, just like the arts. And when we started to talk, you asked me how I got to what I do today. And when I grew up, I went immediately into this entrepreneurial world, starting companies, but I also had this big attraction to the arts. And the more I got to know entrepreneurs in my professional circle and the more I got to know artists in my social circle, the more I saw similarities between them. And I was amazed, how can it be that those two creative societies do not interact? So I kind of started to investigate where art and entrepreneurship, art and business, art and technology actually meet. And the more I got into this, the more I saw that there are much more connection, many more connections between those two worlds. Especially when you look at the world of innovation. This is where I think art can help us a lot.
So we are talking about creativity. We know that people create. It's about persons, personality. Now, why would businesses give time to people to create? Well, they're more eager to make money and come with high profits very quickly.
I think, in order to understand how it's possible, I think that first we need to understand what art is. And from my experience, what I've noted through my whole life is that as humans, we tend to reduce art to the object. It's the painting, it's the sculpture. And from all my conversations and connections with the artist and art, actually I realized that art is a way of thinking. It's the process of thinking. It's not the object. The object is just the end result of the process. And when I looked at how artists think and the way they perceive the world and their approach, I actually realized that the way they think is the way we need to adopt in the process of innovation, especially in the context of business innovation.
Now, are you saying that by studying it, or is it your personal experience you're making it come in the real world?
I mean, obviously, if you study art, you are equipped with this way of thinking. I mean, personally, I never study art. I mean, it's just that I have a lot of hours with artists, and I feel very fortunate because I got exposed to the way artists think. I got exposed to how they perceive the world. And I think that, it's like kind of the process that you are getting infected with this and starting to actually looking at things in a different way, if I would put it that way.
Now, looking things different way, is it easy? I mean, when people talk about business, it's when it comes triple bottom line, profit, productivity, they don't think about creativity. So where does creativity come into that? The basic things when people think when doing business.
I think that, you know, if you look at creativity in the context of business, obviously businesses today cannot survive without innovation. Now, innovation cannot happen if you don't have creativity. You have to have not creativity, you have to have creative people that actually do innovation, because I always say tools don't make innovation, people do innovation. And you need to have those creative people. So one aspect is that in order to stay relevant in the market, you need to innovate. In order to innovate, you have to have the right people. And if you look at that in a wider angle, the young generation define themselves as creative people. So a company that wants to be able to attract the best talent in the market need to also understand their potential employees. And if you understand your potential employees, you understand that creativity is something that is important for them. And if you want to be able to attract them, you need to shape your company with a creative DNA. So it comes mainly through the people, and it can end up in the innovation and the future of the company.
Mm-hmm. Now, when we talk about business, people, like we said, are very eager to make money, to make profits, and also to improve productivity, to improve the quality of their products, to be more competitive. We know that when artists, when they create, they want perfection. They'll do everything to achieve perfection, but also they make mistakes, and sometimes the mistakes become masterpieces. Now, are those businesses ready to accept that? Mistakes or masterpieces?
I think it's a good comment, and again, I think it goes also to the process that we need to understand artists. Is that artists are not, we tend to think about artists with the thing about that they are obsessed with perfectionism, but you know, often you will see that artists, they create art and then they ship it to the world. They send it because they need to create new one all the time. So it's a process of creating. And you mentioned improving products. In order to improve a product, you need to understand your customer. In order to understand your customers, you need to empathize with them. In order to empathize with them, you need to understand what's important for them, what inspires them. These abilities you cannot do by running Excel sheets. You need to be in touch with humans. And I think this is the essence of art. Art is a reflection of humanities. Art is a reflection of the thoughts we have in the world, in the changes that we have in behavior, the changes in culture. So even if you want to improve your product, it's not about the product, it's who is the product for. And if you understand this, you understand that you need to have a much more close relationship with your clients. And in order to have it, that's why I think that art is a great space, because art is all about this interaction between humans and reflections of ideas.
Mm-hmm. Now, earlier you said you need creative people to work for companies and to come with innovative ideas. Now, how does art, bringing art at the workplace, improve the work atmosphere?
So, again, you know, art has different level. So the first level obviously is the aesthetic part, that let's bring art into the workspace. And that's something very important, that you have a very nice and beautiful and inspiring workspace. But again, I look at art in a deeper way. What do I mean? And again, I will focus mainly on the part of innovation. There are many aspects that come from art that are relevant to business, like visualization, like creating experience, like envisioning, like empathizing. But I want to focus with you on the one that's relevant to innovation, and that's why I think we need to bring art, because it's the skills that come from art and relevant for innovation. Every manager knows that in order to improve your products, as you said, or to come up with new products and services, we actually need to observe our clients, observe their environment, observe how they behave in their environment in order to get the insights and come up with the product and services. But what's amazing about observation is that we are being taught how to read, how to write, how to speak. We are not being taught how to observe. And art, especially visual art, you cannot use words, only your eyes. So you need to take the time to actually observe what is around you. Make a list of everything that you see, then understand what you see, and then make connections between what you see. And after you observe the world, you need to question it. But in the business world, we don't like questions. We need to execute. But in order to be able to change the product and services we offer to the world, we need to challenge the status quo and ask questions. Why do we do what we do? Mm-hmm. And why actually we chose to do this in that way? Now, if in the business world we are not trained to execute, in art by definition, the moment you copy it, it's no longer art. So artists all the time need to push themselves in order to stay original and to challenge everything that other artists are doing next to them or everything that artists did before them. So if I try to take what you asked me, if we bring art into the workspace, first level, yes, we have the aesthetic part, but art is a way of thinking. And that's why I think that if you want to train your employees to stay relevant, you need to train them to be observer, to be able to ask the right questions, to offer alternatives, to come up with alternatives that we cannot even conceptualize today, which require imagination. And in this interaction of art and business, artists can inspire us and teach us those skills that we need in the business world.
Mm-hmm. Now, you've been traveling to a lot of places, and where have you seen this kind of concept you're bringing being implemented successfully?
I think that it's not a matter of geographically relevant, but rather it's a personal thing. Every place I met, every place I went, I met people that as individuals, they bring it into their companies. Because you see it often, examples that I give come from the US, but not all the American companies actually do the same. I always say, there is no such thing innovative and creative companies. There are only innovative and creative people that build those companies. So it's not a matter of location, it's a matter of people that have the vision and understanding, and more importantly, the belief that creativity, entrepreneurship, technology, business all should be merged. And actually, that's why when you look at it, real creative people, they don't have boundaries. So for them, disciplines don't exist. They just mix everything.
Mm. So you believe that a single person, a sole trader, like we say, can start something very creative and be successful?
Listen, the question of success is very huge because, you know, I think success is also something individual. What is success? To work 12 hours a day, no vacation, but to make a lot of money? Is that success for you? For some people, yes. Is success for you is to work 8 hours a day, but spend time with your kids? That's success for you? For some people, it is. So I think everyone should ask themselves what's success for them. However, I mean, I believe that, you know, at the core of great products and great services, there is a real problem and a creative way to solve it. So I think that in the long run, creativity is a must-have. It's not should-have or nice-have.
Nir Hindi, thank you very much.
Thank you for the time and for hosting me here in Mauritius.
The African Leadership University is present in Mauritius since 2015. Today in Business Connect, we are at the African Leadership Campus in Pamplemousse in the north of the country. The university is providing a different course to its university students. It includes leadership programs in its curriculum. How it's different? How is it providing for the mismatch between employers and employees? How is it training the next generation of workers in the world? Let's have a look. Mr. Fred Swanica, you are the founder and CEO of ALU. Please tell us, how did the whole concept start for you?
Well, the whole vision of ALU really arose from our experience over the last 15 years of building education institutions across Africa. Before coming to Mauritius, we had started the African Leadership Academy, which is a high school in South Africa. And we would recruit the most outstanding young people from across Africa to come to our school in South Africa. But after they finished, about 80% of them would leave Africa to go and study in the US. And that didn't sit well with me because we wanted to train Africa's future leaders and entrepreneurs. So I thought, why do they have to leave to go and study at Harvard and Stanford and Yale and Oxford and Princeton? We need our own versions in Africa. And so that's what led us to start thinking about how we're going to open our own world-class universities. But as we began exploring it further, we realized that we actually have an opportunity not to replicate what has been done in the rest of the world, but to really reimagine a new model, to use the clean slate to leapfrog and build the universities of the future. One that would be driven by the abundant resources that we have in Africa, which is not many brilliant professors, but rather brilliant students, so that they can teach themselves, they can learn using various technologies and get access to curriculum and content from all around the world. Today with technology, you can get a student sitting in any part of Africa can get content from Oxford and MIT and Yale and Stanford all in one place. So you can pick the best of the best from different places and bring it together in one place. And then also a university that would really be much more aligned to the needs of the future and what employers are looking for. Right? People who can solve problems, who can communicate, who can lead, who can manage projects, and people who really have a passion.
You mentioned that in South Africa there was a brain drain where people were moving out to study abroad. So why did you choose to come to Mauritius then?
Well, as we were looking at where to start, we thought, is there a country in Africa that has, number one, had a very strong, has prioritized education, and we saw that Mauritius, because it isn't a country that has a lot of natural resources, you have always prioritized education as the way to grow, right? Human capital development. So I thought that would be a good place to come. Secondly, I knew Mauritius had a strategy of trying to establish itself as an education hub. So we thought that this might be a good place to come and support the country's strategy. And then also we're looking for a country that was efficient and that had good infrastructure and good security and a good friendly business climate, and we found all those things here. So it made natural sense to start in one of the more innovative countries in Africa, and that's why we came here.
There's currently the BOLD Summit, which is BOLD Breaking Ordinary Learning Dimensions. What is so different about this program compared to other universities?
Well, what we're trying to do with the BOLD Summit, as you mentioned, Breaking Ordinary Learning Dimensions, we're trying to break from convention. We want to get CEOs of companies, HR directors, educators. We have the Vice Chancellor of the University of Mauritius here. We have so many people who are really influential in changing the way we learn in the 21st century. We want to bring them together to create a community of people who are thinking differently about what the world needs and who want to challenge the status quo and reimagine the skills for the future, because everyone is talking about the future of work and how robotics and artificial intelligence and so many other disruptions are going to change the skills that are needed for the 21st century. But no one is doing it, or not enough people are doing it. And so we wanted to create a community of doers and to show real practice of what this so-called education of the future will look like and learning of the future. And so that's what BOLD is doing. We've brought together about 100 people from all around the world to say, let's learn from each other, let's support each other, and give each other the courage that we need to create the real models for the future.
ELU is in Mauritius since 2015, and from what I understood, you provide 4-year courses, in which the first year you provide courses on leadership, data decision project. Basically, the essential skills that you need to be someone who can flourish as an entrepreneur in the future. Mm-hmm. Then you also offer other courses over and above from the 2nd to the 4th year.
Yes.
Who came about with this agenda, and are you seeing a difference to it?
Absolutely. I mean, when we established ALU, we wanted to avoid many of the mistakes that traditional universities have done, right? Which is producing people that are not employable, right? So we started by researching with about 150 employers all around the world to say, what are the skills that you typically find missing in college graduates? And from that, we mapped out what we call the 7 meta skills of the 21st century. How do you lead yourself? How do you lead others? How do you think critically? How do you analyze data and use it to make decisions? How do you manage projects? How do you think entrepreneurially? How do you communicate? And we mapped out a whole curriculum. We said 100% of our students are going to learn this in their first year, right? To give them the skills and not just theory that employers are looking for. So that's the first thing we said. We said, so that the first year foundation year is all about that. We call it the leadership core. And then the second thing we do is that we're going to ensure that our students every year get at least 4 years of work experience. So they do 8 months of learning, 4 months of work experience. So by the time they graduate, they already have a year of work experience. And so they're not entering the workforce without knowing actually what to do. And then the third thing we do, which happens in the second and third year, is we get students to pick interesting problems that they want to solve. Right? This could be computer science, they can be in engineering, they can be in social science and business management. We have different degrees that we have here. But we're really trying to get them to go beyond just what they need to learn in class.
Is it another way of saying promoting research and development?
Well,
because in finding a solution to a problem they want to solve, it includes research and development.
You might call it applied research, right? Where it's not just producing, a study of other research papers that exist and writing some obscure
It's more bringing
theory.
a solution to a problem.
Yeah, to real problems. They're saying go out into the world, find the problem that we need. And the nice about Africa is there's plenty of problems, right? We're spoiled for choice. Pick a problem that you're curious about, that you're passionate about, and then build out your knowledge base around that problem that you want to solve, and do projects and do internships and get mentorship. And this is the way that great education should be. It shouldn't just be in the classroom, because research shows that only 10 to 15% of skills are learned in the classroom. Another 20% is learned from your peers and your mentors and through and by yourself, and doing projects. And then the other 70% comes from experience. So we want to simulate that in our learning environment so that people are coming out of here ready for life.
Mr. Saul Singer, you are the co-author of the book Startup Nation. You're also the keynote speaker for the two-day summit organized at the ALU. Please tell us, why are you here at the ALU?
So I was very interested in African Leadership University, and I met Fred Swaniker both in Rwanda and Israel. And the reason I'm so interested is because of this unique first-year program, which is focused on soft skills, on human skills, on the skills we need, not just to get a job, but just to function in life. And I thought that this was so innovative and original. I was really interested in seeing it for myself.
There are many successful entrepreneurs in Israel. Is there a reason for that?
Yes, we have 6,000 startups for a country of just 8 million people, so that's why we call it Startup Nation. And it is a big startup ecosystem like Silicon Valley, but unlike Silicon Valley, it's in the rest of the world, not in the United States. In Israel's case, it's a lot of things outside the education system that help us learn how to solve problems, learn how to deal with challenges, learn how to have responsibility. These are key things that get you ready for life.
Is it safe to say that Israel is going through an economic miracle right now through the golden generation of startups and entrepreneurs? And what is Israel doing differently?
So innovation, startups, entrepreneurship are what's driving our economy. There's something like half of our exports come from these companies. So for us, it's critical. It's the main driver. And I think in Africa, there's a huge shortage of jobs. And the only way to create the biggest engine for creating jobs is not big companies, it's small businesses. So entrepreneurship is critical. So you can create not only your own job, you can create jobs for others.
That's it from us, from the Business Connect team today. Thank you very much for being with us. Make sure to catch us again on social networks and also on the website of the MBC. Until then, goodbye.